most extroverted.
Okay. Okay, here we go. We are going to be factoring. This is more factoring, but now we are going to factor trinomials that are of the form x squared plus bx plus c. So this is not just, it's not factoring out what they have in common, although we may do that, but then it's going to be factoring a little bit more from that. So if you recall, from 8 dash, I don't know, I think it was 5 maybe, we called it the FOIL method, was 8.5?
Yeah.
But 8.4 we also did factoring. So if you, this is not 8, I'm sorry, this is 9.2. This is factoring trinomials in the pattern x squared plus bx plus c. Okay. These equations, well, they're not equations yet, they will be eventually. These trinomials, like this one specific, this is called a quadratic. It's an important term to know. Quadratic meaning something is squared. Okay, so these types of things are called quadratic. If you recall, let's do a little bit of review. Multiply. Okay, when we go to multiply, if I gave us, let's say, c plus 4 times c plus, well, let's go with 7. That sounds good.
Oh.
This is review. We've multiplied these before. It's nothing new. Hopefully from chapter 8, we did pretty good on that. You would take this and you would multiply, you would FOIL it together is what you could call it, or just distribute, right? You take the c, you multiply it by the c plus 7, you take the 4, multiply it by the c plus 7. What we get is c squared plus 7c plus 4c plus 28. And when we do the FOIL method, we say again, the first term, outer term, inner term, last term. So this is like first, outer, inner, last, right? And then we combine, if we can, and our inner terms, our outers plus our inners are able to come together, and we get c squared plus 11c plus 28. Now, that's not what our goal is today. Our goal is to be able to look at c squared plus 11c plus 28 and ask and find out what times what gave us that. Meaning, what binomial times what binomial gave us this trinomial. And sure enough, we could look and we're like, well, that was easy. Well, yeah, that's good. We multiplied it together. Our goal is going to be, we're given this going backwards here. What's important is that we understand what these parts are all made up of. So c squared, well, where did that come from? Well, that came from c times c. 28, what did that come from? 7 times 4. But you're like, well, what if 28 was 14 times 2, right?
Yeah.
Well, the issue is that the 11c has to also work with the 28. Because the 11c was made up of the 7 and the 4 as well. So the 7 times 4 gave you the 28. The 7 plus 4 gave you the 11c. So if you said, oh, well, what about 14 and 2? Does that give you 28? You bet. But does 14 plus 2 give you 11? No. So then 14 and 2 is not the correct number. Or you would say, what about 1 and 28? Because 1 times 28 gives you 28. Well, does 1 plus 28 give you 11? No. So then we would say, okay, 7 times 4 gives you 28. Does 7 plus 4 give you 11? Yes. So that's going to be our goal today, is looking at this and then foiling, factoring from there. So let's do some problems. There is, okay, this is factor. So we'll call this number 1. You're going to have x squared plus 15x plus 54. So these ones, you look, is it a trinomial? Yes. Is it in the quadratic formatting, meaning x squared and x and then no x's? The answer is yes. Okay, so with this being said, our goal is we are going to figure out what times what gave us this. Trinomials like this came from a binomial times a binomial. Now, not every trinomial comes from a binomial times a binomial, but trinomials in the quadratic formatting, meaning x squared x, no x's, those come from a binomial times a binomial. So when we look at that, we're going to say, okay, this and this and this and this. Hopefully, it'll be pretty easy to figure out what times what gave us the x squared. Hopefully that part's pretty easy. Are you?
Yes.
X and x, right? Okay, x times x gives us x squared. Now, we just were discussing over here, when you have the 54, you can't just say any number you want. Like you can't say, oh, perfect, it's 1 and 54. Because yes, when you FOIL, x times x gives you x squared, 1 times 54 gives you 54, but this 15x is made up of your outers plus your inners. Does 54 plus 1 give you 15? No. So another way to ask this is, I do a little, and you don't have to do this, but sometimes it can prove helpful, is you can make a little chart, meaning this, what times what gives you 54, added together gives you 15. And so then if you said 1 times 54, 1 plus 54, you can quickly check it that way, right? You don't have to set up a chart, but that's one way you can do it. So you're thinking, what are the factors of 54, and then seeing if they add together to give you the 15. So you could say, let's pick another false one, 2 and 27, right? 2 times 27. And you don't have to try false ones if you know they're false, right? 2 and 27 does not add together to give you 15. So that's also wrong. Rosie, do you want to give us the answer? I feel like you do. You're excited.
6 and 9.
Okay, let's try this. 6 times 9 gives you 54. Check. Does 6 plus 9 give you 15? Yes. Therefore, what are the two numbers I put in there? 6 and 9. So I'm going to erase the 1, erase the 5, 4, and then go 6 and 9. Now, when it is plus and plus there, what do you think the two signs are here? Plus. Okay? And then you're done, just like that. That's all there is to that. Okay? Because now you factored it. Factors are things multiplied together. So did I find something times something? Yes, I did. Let's do this one. This is a slight variation, meaning we have a minus 32. Now, in this case, we have to be careful because we're not going to, we are going to ask the same question, but we have to pay attention to the negative and then also the positive. So again, hopefully this will be pretty easy for us to figure out. What times what gives you x squared?
X.
Right? And so we're going to go, okay, x parentheses, x parentheses. Sounds good. Now, if you want to do the chart, you can. With that chart, we have to understand that we are looking for a negative 32 when you multiply them, and when you add them together, you're looking for a positive 4. Well, how do you get a negative number when you multiply two numbers together? One has to be positive and one has to be negative. One has to be negative, one has to be positive. Not worried about the order, okay? It does matter which one is negative, which one's positive, but the order doesn't matter. So if you pick, when I say egregious, do you know what the word egregious is? Like way off, or like that's just not true. If we pick 32 and 1, we cannot say 32 times 1, because 32 times 1 gives me 32. One of them has to be negative, right? If you pick a negative 32 times 1, and then add a negative 32 plus 1, well, what's a negative 32 plus 1 give you? Negative 31, right? Well, what am I looking for? I'm looking for a positive. So if you take a large negative added to a small positive, you're going to end up with a negative. Meaning, whatever is negative on this side needs to be smaller than the positive, because when you add them together, you want it to be positive. Also, 32 and 1 gets you nowhere near 4. Right? So you could say 16 and 2, but you can mentally do that. Does 16 and 2 give you 32? Yeah. But does 16 and 2 get you to 4?
No.
No. So then we're thinking, what are the other factors of 32? Think about it. 4 and 8. So if you say 4 and 8, which one do you want to be positive? Which one do you want to be negative?
Oh wait, -4.
Negative 4 times 8, because a negative 4 plus 8 would give you a positive 4. So then, here's your two numbers that you're going to use. You're just going to say x not plus 4 now. X what? Minus 4, and then what is it going to be? X plus 8. When you're doing these, especially like on your test or something, very easy, well, say easy, you should do a quick check. How do you do a quick check? Just FOIL it. And you can mentally FOIL it. Ready? I'm going to point to our terms. First is x squared. Check. To get to negative 32, I usually do this. I kind of jump. I go negative 4 and 8 is negative 32. Check. How do I check to see if I got 4x? I do my outers plus my inners. 8x minus 4x gives me 4x. Did I do it correctly? Yeah. There you go. So let's throw another one up here. Let's try this one. X squared minus 11x plus 10. Let's go ahead and you guys try that one and check with your support team around you. A little variation, meaning the negative sign ends up in a slightly different spot. Hopefully you understand the general idea of just the pattern. So binomial times binomial. Hopefully you can get the first term pretty straightforward on that. Check with your support team. If you think you have that one, you can move on to the next one. On number 3, you don't have many options for 10, right? It's either 1 and 10 or 5 and 2. Will 5 and 2 ever get you to an 11?
No.
5 and 2 will never get you to 11. So the only option would be a 10 and a 1, and see if that works. What would you put? Fascinating. Fascinatingly awesome. Okay, and take a brief look at number 4. Some of you are, a lot of, just a quick scan, a lot of you are getting number 3, so that's great. I'm taking a look at number 4.
Yeah, can't do that.
Okay, let's take a look, in the interest of time, let's take a look at number 3 together. Okay, ready? Number 3, we said, right, x and x. We just discussed how a 5 and a 2 gives you 10. A 5 and a 2 will never get you to 11, whether you're adding them or subtracting them, okay? So then we say, well, the only other option is 10 and 1. And the 10 and the 1 will get you to 11. The issue is that if you go 10 minus 1, that gets you to a 9, but a 10 plus 1 gets you to 11, right? So then you look and you say, well, what are the signs that I need? A lot of times people look at this and they say, okay, plus and plus. The issue is that does work, x squared, check. 10, check, but your outers, 1 plus 10 gives you a positive 11. That doesn't work. Therefore, we need a negative and a negative, because a negative times a negative is a positive. Negative 1 minus 10, negative 11. We got it. We look over at number 4 together, okay? So quickly we're getting this feel down for like, okay, x and x. And then we think, okay, what times what gives you 12? A positive 12 added together gives you a negative 6. Per our discussion here about the signage, you know you're going to need a negative and a negative. And so what are some factors of 12? Well, you could go 12 and 1. Does 12 and 1 get you to a 6?
No.
No. 2 and 6, does a 2 and a 6 get you to 6? No. That gets you to an 8, right? Or a 4. So 2 and 6 doesn't work. What about a 4 and a 3? Does a 4 and a 3 get you to a 6?
Yeah. Oh,
No.
No, 4 and 3 only gets you to a 7, right?
Yes.
So it is what? Prime. Because there's no two numbers that multiply together to give you 12, added together to give you 6. So yeah, 4 and 2 added together give you 6, but 4 times 2 gives you 8. You need something multiplied together to give you 12, added together to give you negative 6. Anything in there? No, so you're going to get a prime there. On the test, usually what people do is they struggle with factoring, so they just start writing prime. It's like, no, not everything is prime.
Yes.
I know you wish it was all prime, but it's not. Okay, now what happens when you have this? Negative 26y plus y squared plus 48. What's the, what about this?
It's not in order.
Not in standard form, right? So when you do these, make sure you put them in standard form. So how do I put this in standard form?
Y squared minus 26y plus 48.
Okay, there you go. Now factor that hog. All right. Please do not put x times x gives you y squared.
I think it's
But why?
That's actually think that's
Sounds like you're
What times what gives you y squared?
Why?
Y and y. Okay, this one's not prime. Pro tip, not prime. Okay.
Oh, I got it.
You got it?
I did.
No, I got it.
Yeah. Nice job. Okay. 48 and 1.
No.
No. Not even close. 2 and 24. Ooh, 2 and 24. Does that get me to a 26? Well, yeah. Notice if it's a negative here and a positive here, what are the both signs of the negative and negative? 24 and 2. Is that going to work for me? Yeah. Foil it out, first outer inner last, and it will get there. Y squared positive 48. Outers plus innards gets you to a negative 26. Now, we're going to, we're progressing, right? We're like, okay, these have been fairly straightforward.
No.
Then maybe not.
Oh, yeah.
Now, let's go 4x squared. Ooh, what just happened?
Why?
Oh,
What is this?
wow.
Two things.
It's not in order.
It's not in order. Okay, so let's put it in order, right? What's going to be the order?
Minus 24x plus 3.
Okay. Now, what's the other thing that's like, ooh?
It's right.
It has
a
not
four
just
squared.
next squared.
Yeah, it has a coefficient other than 1. When it has a coefficient of other than 1, okay, there's two things to consider. One is, one thing to consider is this. We cannot just ask what times what gives us 96 added together gives us 44. Because the 4x squared, that 4, messes with the problem, okay? So don't just go 96 and 44 and I'm working with that and that's it. No, the 4x squared messes. Everything else over here, coefficient of 1, coefficient of 1, coefficient of 1, coefficient of 1. You can just go, what times what gives you this, add it together gives you this, every single time. Here, you're like, ooh, something's a little bit off because of that. So don't go, what times what gives you 96, add together gives you negative 44. However, what you can do is look at factoring something out first. What do they have in common?
4.
They got a 4 in common, yeah. So when I factor out a 4, what am I left with? X squared minus
11 plus 24.
Plus 24. Now, if you know, that may take a little bit of long division work for you. You won't have calculators on the test, right? So this is a viable question for the test, not extremely difficult arithmetic. Now, we do that, okay? Now, does this look doable? Because the 4 is going to stay in the answer, but we can, since it's 4 times, we can just look at the inside. Now, does it look doable? Yeah, you bet.
Ish.
Yeah, ish. So, what's an easy one to try? 24 and 1. Does that get you to 11? No. 2 and 12?
No.
No, because that's either going to get you to 10 or it's going to get you to 14, depending on what you're adding and subtracting. So not 2 and 12. 6 and 4. Will 6 and 4 get you to 11? No, but that is factors of 24. 8 and 3. Do 8 and 3 get to 11? Yeah. Okay. So 4, and then we go binomial, and then we would go what? X minus.
Wait, x squared.
X
minus
8.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you go x minus 8, then x minus 3, or x minus 3, then x minus 8. It does not matter. Okay, let's pick the final question. And this one would be Changjing. A squared. Oh, but what do we like about just a squared?
It's
1.
Coefficient of
1.
1. Yeah, so we like that. Then you're like, okay, child's play, Mr. Elson. Easy, easy.
Oh dear.
Oh no! I had to do it.
Why?
Why? No, A. Thank you. Okay, here, these types of problems actually are not too challenging. What people see is they see the double variable and it's like, oh no, what do I do? What times what gives you A squared? A and A, right? Well, what times what gives you B squared? B and B, there you go. So when you set this up, you go like this, you go like this, you go like this, you go A and A, and then B and B, and now you just tack on the numbers. So now it's doing the same thing, you're just asking, what times what gives me a negative 72 added together gives me a negative 14. It's not prime, okay? So brainstorm, do it on your paper, try to get the value, it's not extreme. 1 and 72 is out, right? Does not work. You have to know a little bit of arithmetic. 2 and 36. No. So we're getting rid of that. So then the next number you might try is 3. And then the next number you might try is 4, right? And then not 5, 6, you know. But 1 is out, 2 is out, 3 is out. What do you get? 3 times what gives you 72? 3 and 24. Well, 3 and 24 doesn't get you to 14, does it? No. So then your next number is 4. Does 4 go into 72? You have to know that. And it goes into it. 4 goes into 72. 18. Do 4 and 18 get you to a 14? Yeah, not adding them together, but subtracting them. Yeah, and then we recognize that this is not positive. Therefore, it's not going to be a negative and a negative and a positive getting you there. It's one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. Well, yeah, because when you add them together, you got to get out a negative. Therefore, your larger value has to be negative. So I've been hearing quite a bit. Positive 4 minus 18. There you go. That's it. let's have you get started on your HW. The question is this due after spring break?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Like,
ever.
yes.
I agree with that.
Is there actually
It
homework?
is not.
What?
Is there actually homework?
Well, yeah, there's homework. So,
You on
so I'm not gonna make it due on Monday after spring break. It'll be due on Tuesday. 9.3 is I think we may structure that into a 2-day lecture, so that'll work fine, is that you'll have a little bit of time. But if you have some time at lunchtime today, would it be a bad idea to crank out this so it's not hanging over your head come Monday when you come back? Up to you on that. But I think we'll do a couple-day lecture on 9-3. So the homework for today is, though, this is not due Monday, it'll be due Tuesday, but we're not doing any more problems on it. Page 426. Do you guys have a study hall today?
Yeah,
No.
no.
Nope. Some people do, some people don't.
Someone have a piece of paper.
1 through 35 odd.
Max, is there gonna be
Yeah.
Numbers 45 through 50. Let's see what I posted in Google Classroom because
I don't care, I just remind me of this.
50 all, and then number 52.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
There's like
it's like, oh.
That's only
5.
yeah.
Five, 6.
What about you?
You can do it, or you can't.
What's happening?
It's only
25 problems.
Yeah.
That's
You're
so
right, I
much.
can't. Hold
Hey,
the wall.
we used to
your
have like
choice.
50
Not
every day.